Why is this place spooky? Who is the ghost hiding in the dark? What happened to the people who went inside? This is more than just a regular ghost story. No, this is a terrible situation. Ravenwood Asylum is an old, empty place that has taken many lives and still wants more. Tonight, we will look at the history, the sadness, and the fear that are still felt in these spooky walls. Are you brave enough to join us? Or will you also become one of Ravenwood's forever residents? Ravenwood Mental Hospital. Just hearing the name makes people scared because of its scary history. Once a place of hope for people ignored by society, it now sits empty and forgotten. But the spirits inside are still aware. They say the building is haunted and seems to have its own spirit. For almost 100 years, Ravenwood was a safe place for people with mental illnesses, those who were overlooked, and those who were not wanted. What started as a place to help people get better quickly turned into a scary place. The stories of its sad history have become more noticeable as time has passed. Today, we reveal what actually happened here. Ravenwood Asylum was built in 1903 and was a modern place for people with mental illnesses. Its creator, Dr. Jonathan Ravenwood, thought it was important to care for patients with kindness, which was a new idea back then. But over the years, that dream fell apart because there were too many people, not enough money, and dishonesty. At the start, there was hope. Patients received advanced treatments, including occupational therapy, light therapy, and support to help them reconnect with society. But as the years went by, everything changed. By the 1920s, Ravenwood had turned into a scary place. "Come in, doctor." She was hired in 1937 to help fix the problems at a crowded and messy place. But her ways of doing things were not right. Doctor is famous for her harsh and mean experiments. Graves looked at her patients not as people, but as experiments to understand the mind by using pain. Patients were kept in dark rooms for days, didn't get enough food, were given electric shocks without pain relief, and were injected with unknown drugs. The worst part of Dr. Graves' terrible actions were kept secret from everyone. But the screams were impossible to quiet. They say she did surgeries that her coworkers thought were terrible. But no one was brave enough to say anything because those who tried vanished. By the late 1940s, Ravenwood Asylum had turned into a place where many people died. Many patients died in strange ways, and their bodies were buried in unknown places behind the building. Official reports said it was due to natural causes, but people talked about different reasons. By 1955, the number of patients in the asylum had grown to more than 2,000, but Dr. Graves' rule of fear went on without control. In 1957, Dr. Graves disappeared. Her office was neat, and her things were all in place, but she was never seen again. Some people say she ran away when people started to find out about her experiments. Some people say she ended up becoming a victim herself. But many people think that something more sinister took place, something that the asylum wouldn't let her leave. After she went missing, the asylum started to fall apart. Staff members left their jobs, patients were not being looked after, and the place became very disorganized. By 1963, Ravenwood had shut down for good. But the stories of what happened inside never ended. After it closed, Ravenwood was left empty, but still remembered. Urban explorers, adventure lovers, and ghost hunters have all gone into the asylum, hoping to see the ghosts that are believed to live there. But what they discovered was much worse. Who are the ghosts of Ravenwood? They are not just made up. They are real people who are stuck because of the terrible things they experienced in life. The sounds of their pain still remain, stuck between the walls, going through their hurt again and again. People say you can still hear their cries and pleas for help, especially on nights when the wind blows hard through the broken windows. Some people think the spirits are just the ghosts of patients who died while being treated by Dr. Graves' knife, but some people say that something much scarier is in these halls. A shadow called the Shadow Man. The Shadow Man is the scariest being in Ravenwood Asylum. People who have seen him say he is a tall, dark figure with no clear face. He moves like smoke, blending into the shadows and vanishing as quickly as he shows up. According to the story, the Shadow Man used to be a patient of Dr. Graves' most troubled topics. But as time went on, things changed. He turned into more than just a person, he became a part of the asylum. He chooses who goes and who stays. People who have seen the Shadow Man say that if he looks you in the eyes, it's too late to escape. He watches you closely, tracks you, until finally you fade away into the shadows, just like him. But the Shadow Man isn't the only ghost that roams these halls. There are other people too, patients, doctors, and even the kids who grew up in Ravenwood. They walk the halls, stuck between being alive and dead, wanting to take revenge on anyone who interrupts their sleep. In the 1980s, Ravenwood became a fun place for people who love ghost stories and supernatural things. A few groups of researchers entered the asylum, hoping to find proof of ghosts or supernatural things. But what they discovered was much scarier than they ever thought. At first, there were only quiet noises and soft sounds. It's unusual, but not surprising. Then, one by one, the investigators started to sense that someone or something was there. The air got colder, and their tools began to break. And then the ghosts showed up. Some of the investigators said they saw a figure watching them from the darkness. A detective, who didn't believe in ghosts, said he saw a woman in a hospital gown at the end of a hallway. Her eyes were empty, and her mouth looked like she was screaming. But when he got close, she disappeared. I will always remember what I saw. It wasn't just the way the light looked. It was true. She was genuine. And she wanted something from me. The scariest experience happened to a group of city explorers in 1995. With just flashlights and cameras, they went into Ravenwood, ignoring the locals' warnings and laughing. They had listened to the tales about the Shadow Man, but they didn't think ghosts were real. Until it was too late, can be rewritten as, until it was no longer possible. At first, it was quiet. It's very quiet. Then, unusual things began to happen. The temperature went down, the lights started to blink, and one of their friends, Adam, said he felt like someone was watching him. Adam became increasingly upset, saying that someone was following them. The group left and believed he was just trying to frighten them. But then they saw him. The Shadow Man. He stayed still. He just stood there and looked. But as soon as they blinked, he disappeared. People started to feel very scared. The group wanted to leave, but all the doors they found were locked. And then Adam was gone. They looked in every room and every hallway, but Adam was missing. The camera's last recording was the sound of loud, slow footsteps and a spooky whisper saying, "I'm waiting." The rest of the group was found the next morning, gathered outside the asylum, too scared to say anything. No one saw Adam again. Even now, no one knows what happened to him. But the people who have come back to Ravenwood think they know the truth. Adam never went away. Since that day, the authorities have closed off Ravenwood. No one can go inside, and if someone tries to break in, they experience strange things, cameras that don't work, spooky noises, and a strong sense of fear. Ravenwood Asylum is more than just a spooky place. It's a place where the lines between the living and the dead are unclear, where ghosts stay because of the pain they experienced. At the center of everything, the Shadow Man is waiting and watching. So, the question is, would you be brave enough to go in? Will you confront the ghosts of Ravenwood? Or will you become one of the many people who have vanished in its dark corridors and never come back? Once you go in, you might not come out. If this story scared you, please like, share, and subscribe for more spooky stories. And don't forget, sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones that never finish.